Sorry, I had to wrap that quick. We've got some other guests in the KUAM News Zoom room. We'll just get right into it. We'll bring on Principal of FD, Ishmael Perez, and Dr. Juan Flores, Catholic Schools as Superintendent, and find out where we are when it comes to face-to-face learning and the resuming of face-to-face classes for Catholic schools. And good morning, Dr. Juan. Good morning, Principal Perez. Good morning, Mr. Thompson.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. So I know on the FD side, you guys have sent out the survey to the parents. What type of response are you getting, Principal Perez?
With regards to the students or families wanting students to come back, it's about 80%, with 20% responding they are preferring to stay online for distance learning for the rest of the school year, pretty much.
Right.
And just to make it known, and know some parents will be listening, they have the option to stay on for the rest of the school year online.
Right. And so what are they, I mean, I know the response, it doesn't have a lot of, space for kind of expanding on their answers, but what are parents and students saying to you, maybe on a personal level, about returning to face-to-face?
I know a lot of based on the results and then on the conversations I have with students and parents, a lot of them really do want to get back to school. They know that there's a lot of concern about safety and health, and we are taking that into consideration. There's a lot of things we've done in our mitigation plans to make sure that this is addressed. But a lot of them just want to get back to it. It's really difficult online to learn and to teach. Both sides of the computer screen it's difficult to do. And we're doing the best we can, both students and teachers, but we've even improved it this semester by requiring students to turn on their cameras as much as possible, and more interactive, questioning back and forth that students have to answer and respond, even if it's on chat. So we're taking a more proactive role on the online learning platforms.
So that being said, what's the timeline from getting these responses to actually starting face-to-face?
Well, we've already designated that January 19th is the day we return back. And so we're doing it in cohorts. Last names A to G will be gold team, and maroon team will be H to Z. So if your last names fall within those sections, you'll be gold will be the first 2 days of the week, and maroon will be the last 2 days of the week. And that way, we only have at most 50% of the school on campus. And it's not by grade level, because I know that some parents, want, and the students want to have all the seniors, all the freshmen together, but that makes it for a crowded classroom. So we wanted to divide it by last name so that the last names could sort of weed out or make it lessen the number of students in a classroom, which is one of the most concerning things, is a crowded classroom.
Right.
So it allows us to provide more spacing between seats.
Are you guys?
And then,
Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So we're doing that, and also staggering schedules. So we're really looking at making sure that it's, there's room to move about the campus without interacting with a lot of people. We're using block schedules. So on any given day, the most classes a student would have or a teacher would be 4 periods. So if there were contact tracing needs, we don't have to work with 4 groups of people as opposed to 7. And the teachers are looking at the rosters. I had them print out the rosters, draw a line between G and H last names. And one of the teachers came back and said, I have 3 students in one class now, because those 3 students are, above H. But that means the other 12 students or whatever it was in that class would be on the other days. So it's really minimizing the contact and the exposure that possibly could happen. And that's on top of all the PPEs and temperature checks and hand sanitizers that we're putting around the campus. And we're even putting up sinks outside. We have our restrooms, of course, but we're putting up more sinks. I think we're putting 7 sinks that we're setting up now just to provide more hand washing stations for the students.
Dr. Juan, where are we in terms of vaccinating teachers, staff, relevant personnel at the Catholic school level?
We surveyed all the schools to find out, first of all, how many faculty and staff members they have, how many of them have already been vaccinated, and then how many want to be vaccinated. And of the results we got, maybe probably two-thirds of the faculty and staff want to be vaccinated. I just got word yesterday from the Lieutenant Governor's office that the faculty and staff of the schools will be put in, I guess, what's category 2 after the people 60 years and older. We're hoping that they can find enough vaccines so that vaccination can take place before Tuesday, so that the teachers and staff will be vaccinated before we return to face-to-face instruction.
All right, stand by, please, gentlemen. It's 8 o'clock. We're KUAM FM and Agani, Guam. To our viewers on KUAM TV land, thanks so much for jamming with us on the link. It's The Breeze 93.9. You can jump over to our Facebook Live feed. There's a lot going on there. Then we offer the show the traditional way on the radio. Wow. Right here on The Breeze 93.9. From my partner, Sabrina Salas Mantanani and Jason Salas, my name is Chris. To our viewers on KUAM TV, hasta adios. With the Catholic School Superintendent, Dr. Juan Flores, also Principal Perez from FD. We were just asking Dr. Juan about vaccinations for Catholic school teachers and staff. And so you guys are in that category, and you're going to try and get it done before, obviously, the start of school on Tuesday, right?
If it's available. I think that's what they're trying to figure out now. That's why we let them know how many vaccines we would need based on those faculty and staff members who want to be vaccinated.
Right. Principal Perez, are you guys, what are your staff saying about getting vaccinated?
According to the results of our survey of the faculty and staff, about 60%, so it's pretty close to what Juan was saying. 30 out of 50 are looking to get the vaccine. I know that a couple have been able to go to the vaccination sites and actually do it before that, so they'd be taken out of that. But that just leaves room for other teachers if they want to change their mind or anything like that. So about 60%.
Okay. Dr. Juan, we had Jess Garcia, deputy at DPW, on yesterday, and just personally, I felt like they still had a lot of work to iron out as far as the busing. And then I do understand that they're also waiting on some stuff from GDOE, which we'll ask Superintendent Fernandez about coming up. But have you guys had any conversation at all with DPW relative to busing Catholic school students when we return next week?
We've had a lot. Actually, Chris, the best thing that we provided to DPW was maybe not a complete, but a near complete list of all students who are going to take advantage of the public school busing system, of the public busing system, and even including the home addresses of those kids, so they know exactly where they need to pick up or drop off those kids. Those were provided weeks ago. In my meeting last week, Vince Ariola said that they're going to work on a schedule, and on Monday I got word that we're supposed to receive that schedule today. So we're looking forward to that. We kind of need those right away so we can send the word out to the families. They may not take advantage of the bus on the first day, but I think for some families, the buses really help them, right? Especially some of the bigger schools, FD, Notre Dame, Mount Carmel. Those are the schools that take advantage of the buses the most. The other issue, though, Chris,
go ahead.
is we're working on some new arrangements, or at least some upgraded arrangements to what's going on at the transit center down at the Chamorro Village, because that's the place where the opportunity for congregation takes place, when we're trying to minimize that, so that students get off one bus and get on another bus right away.
At the interchange.
Right.
Wow, okay. So Tuesday, man, it's kind of, I mean, it's typical Gov Guam last second planning, but it is what it is, I guess, right?
Well, they've been planning it, and they've had the information from the schools, like I said, for weeks. Yeah. So they've been working at it. It's just a matter of getting the actual schedule so we can get that out to the schools soon.
And what do you think are going to be some of the challenges that you guys are going to face, besides obvious ones, when we return to face-to-face learning?
You know, Chris, I think based on what some of the schools are mentioning, I mean, Temo mentioned that only 20% of the FD guys aren't going to come back, but in some schools, it's as high as 50% of the students whose families don't want them to come back. So continuing to keep those kids engaged maybe having a way for the kids to access live streaming of their classes, or having special sessions with their teachers is going to be tough. And I think it's going to be very demanding on the teachers, because most of our schools have enough teachers for our schools. We don't really have enough teachers to run dual systems. So I'm guessing at FD, the teachers who are going to work with the 20%, they're going to be doing some extra work, because they can't necessarily be pulled away from other classes, because they're going to be needed in those other classes. And that's true for most of our schools. I will say that most of the reasons I'm hearing from families about why they're not sending their children to the schools are valid. They have elderly relatives at home, and they're very concerned about the transmission of the virus. They're not sure about what the schools can provide as far as health and safety, even though we've been working on a lot of measures to make sure the schools are going to be safe. And we're still waiting for some of the procurements through DOE for things like HEPA filters, for things like sneeze guards. For the elementary schools, we've asked for sneeze guards for every single student desk, because those kids, even at lunch, are going to need it, especially they'll have their lunches in the classrooms. For the high schools, we need the sneeze guards in the cafeterias, because that's the time when the students will take their face masks off. So there's a lot that's in the works. A lot of work has gone into planning for this. We're just at the mercy of some procedures that have to be followed.
Principal Paris, anything to add there?
Yeah, just to follow up, we are waiting on a lot of those things from the government, and those will make a lot of the procedures easier to follow. Like in the cafeteria, even if we put the sneeze guards up, we can fit more students. But what we did last time before we had to close in August was students would sit in the cafeteria facing one direction, which was already one of the provisions that was allowed by public health. So we're prepared to do that. We put extra tables in the cafeteria for students who needed to, but we're also going to encourage students to eat outside. Yeah, but a lot of the things that we're looking forward to getting from the government, that laptops, and we've been waiting for laptops and other, the HEPA filters that Juan was mentioning, even the distance learning center opportunities. We're waiting for those things to start up, to get those things going, so the students that aren't even going to be able to come on campus for face-to-face can still access it after school. If they, if they're wary of coming to the school because of exposure, they can at least access the Wi-Fi and maybe a laptop after hours when they get on campus, and that would be a great service to those students. We plan to have some teachers available to answer questions for them, so they're not left, on their own after hours figuring out how to do online learning. I do want to ask, go ahead.
Say, did you already cover whether or not, GDOE and public health, they're doing a virtual town hall meeting on vaccinations with GDOE employees, and they're also offering free COVID testing to GDOE employees this week over at the Northern Region Community Center. So I'm just wondering, with private schools, did you cover that, whether or not any sort of free testing is being offered to private schools? And also, will you guys be getting any sort of presentation or discussions with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Cabrera, as well as Dr. Luis Cruz? Are you guys being afforded the same opportunities?
We haven't been invited to those, but I think some teachers and principals have actually participated. When they just find out that something's going on, they just get on those. But as far as the testing, the schools have taken the initiative to get their employees, the faculty and staff, tested if that's what they want. And I already mentioned about the vaccinations, that those we're told are coming as soon as the vaccinations are actually available. A lot of our schools, the school principals participated in I thought a really good webinar with Dr. Annette David. And many of us actually have been doing a lot of our own research on the best practices for online or face-to-face schools. The other thing is that the Archdiocese of Agana has a COVID task force that is working with the schools and the parishes on things like contact tracing and on the protocols for students, faculty, and staff that test positive. And the other day, I had a meeting with the University of Guam, Dr. Margaret Ochima, Carlos Taitino, and Dr. Tio Cruz, about how we could get some support from the School of Nursing, and maybe a support for the COVID task force, for the AOA COVID task force if needed. So in some ways, it'd be great if we were always included in anything that's planned for the public schools, and we are in many cases. But if not, I think most of the schools take the initiative to get the information on their own.
I wanted to ask, when we talk about return to face-to-face learning, obviously one of the big components that makes schooling beneficial is that social interaction, right? A lot of times people say, oh, the kids they enjoy it. It's so about just having that interaction and learning to work with your peers. So how challenging do you think it's going to be for these students to come back to school in an atmosphere where they're going to have two other classmates in a class? Like in your case,
he's referring to the class where there would only be 3 students on the list.
Right. Yeah.
That was a small class to begin with, but I think at break time and lunchtime, we are still going to allow them to interact somewhat with their grade levels, but not more than 50% of their class will be there anyway. Yeah. So it's going to be a challenge, and I think that's one of the great things about FD is the community that we build on a daily basis. The interactions we have on campus, they're a very enjoyable part of that FD experience. So it's something that we're going to have to work with. How do we make sure that the experience still sort of that community while maintaining a safe environment? So we're looking at that. We're going to have more presence of the staff and faculty out during lunch and break to make sure that we're just being safe. We can have that community from 6 feet apart still.
Right.
We are looking at still continuing things like club meetings if we have to. So some of the student groups want to start up, and they've been meeting virtually at least. So they're trying to maintain that connection, but it's really difficult online.
Yeah. Have you guys dusted off any plans for graduation ceremonies?
Well,
I know it's kind of early. I know we haven't even gone back to school yet, but as a father of a senior, I'm just kind of curious.
Right. So we planned, and we confirmed it with Lisa Weisenberger, the bishop's secretary, that we were looking at making it a one-day event. That way it would be one time, very similar to last year. I think that went very well. And if we have to maintain the distance, we can at least have the same setup where it's 4 people, the graduated 3 guests in a pod, 6 feet apart from everyone else. We had a mass, and then immediately we had the graduation. So I thought it was a very good thing that we could, be in and out in one day instead of having the 2 days. And, that's just 2 big events. If you had to contact trace, that'd be crazy. Yeah. So I think the one-day event was a very good thing last year, and I'm looking forward to that being the situation this year.
I'm not sure we got a follow-up. I know Bree wants to ask about something, but the SATs, I remember last year you guys were just, like pulling teeth trying to get public health to approve you guys to administer the SAT test. Did that end up working out for you guys?
Yeah, we actually, I think the time I was able to get on your show was very helpful for that. And we were able to do the SATs after that. And it was actually included in the guidance memos and executive orders that testing was allowed for aptitude, achievement, and other things. So there's not really a reason not to do them. We are doing the PSAT for the students that we normally do it, which is 9, 10, and 11. And the materials have arrived. We'll follow the protocols just as we would any school day or any testing. But the government has already allowed for those types of testing to occur. And I guess, that's ever since September when we were on the show with you.
What about the return of sports?
So right now, the IIAAG has a really extensive set of protocols that they have proposed to public health for 3 sports: cross country, beach volleyball, and tennis. Is that right, Timo?
Yeah, cross country, beach volleyball, and tennis are the ones that we're looking to get a response from the director of public health. We haven't yet gotten that for competition, but we are allowed to try out, train, and practice for those, and any sports that can meet the criteria For the protocols, as long as you're following the protocols, you're able to make sure that those training trials and practices are conducted properly. But
Right.
competitions are not yet approved, and we're waiting for that from public health. I know we just sent in a letter requesting, the response from, I don't know when they first sent it in, but they're waiting for that response. At least some acknowledgement of we can move forward or we're going to talk about it.
You know, the one issue that public health and many people talk about is the idea of minimizing non-cohort activities, so that if students are getting involved in activities that are really activities of people they normally do activities with, the idea of bringing in the virus is less likely, right? So even with the practices, I know that when I read the protocols for the IIAAG, it called for the coaches working with the students, but in cohort groups, so that they're not just randomly participating, they're working with the same groups. And again, minimizing non-cohort activities. And that's at the elementary and middle school levels, that actually is also encouraged, including classes. So that for most elementary and middle school classes, the kids will stay in the classroom all day and the teachers will be the one to move around. That's difficult to do at the high school levels because of different skill levels and because of different interests of students. You don't have everybody taking all the same courses, so that's not possible. But anytime there is a way to discourage non-cohort activities, I think we will do that. I wanted to point out, Chris, that there are some activities for students that are already taking place other than graduation, like First Holy Communion and plans for confirmation. And because those fit into the protocols for liturgy, some of them have already taken place. And I know that some schools are already making plans for First Holy Communion after Easter and for confirmation later on in the spring.
Right on. Anything in closing before we take a break and move on to our next guest?
Yeah, go
Let
ahead.
me just touch up on one thing. When the students do return, we are going to try to encourage them and their family members to minimize contact outside still. We can't force them to be in a bubble, but the less contact they have, the better off we will be on campus to limit exposure to possible infection. I do want to ask our parents again. I do send out some emails, and I'm really hoping that they read them, because sometimes the questions they ask in the emails directly to me are answered in the emails that I send out. There are surveys. I still haven't gotten the survey from all the students, but our office staff is calling. So I really ask that the parents fill out those surveys to let us know if they intend to return or stay online. But yeah, we're looking forward to welcoming our students. I think they're very excited. 80% of them want to come back. It's really exciting to know that it's that high. And we're looking for a great time on Tuesday when we first welcome A to G, and then on Thursday when we welcome A to H to Z. We're hoping it's going to be a great experience and a very safe one, of course. But we're looking to get back to our community and make that FD experience again.
Right. Just real
Thanks
quick. Will students who choose to continue distance learning be able to participate in approved extracurricular activities like sports, or is that dependent on them attending classes in person?
I would be surprised if they're going to ask to participate in sports if the families weren't comfortable with them coming to class. So I think that probably is going to be up to the school. So my sense is we probably won't have a lot of families who are willing to participate in sports but not willing to have their kids come to school. I think the school activities probably would be better monitored because when there is competition, there's exposure to kids from other schools.
Right.
Not that the virus comes from the other schools.
There are students who are in that situation already that have signed up for cross country or tennis. They're preferring to stay online for classes, but they are engaging in some of the activities. They're following the protocols, but I think some of the students who are staying home, it may not be for COVID related reasons, and some of them are just experiencing a better academic situation. So some of them are opting for that, and it has nothing to do with exposure sometimes. So I haven't made a ruling on that. And I don't see a reason to prevent a student if they're not comfortable to come to campus where there's 200 boys, as opposed to going to tennis practice where there's 8.
Right.
They might
and then it's outside too, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dr. Juan, thank
Chris,
you.
I
Yes.
just want to mention one thing. I was hoping that all the school people will take the whole 2 weeks off the Christmas vacation and then work really hard to prepare for the reopening of schools next week. But I got to tell you, the administration, the faculty, and the staff of the schools, many of them worked through the Christmas vacation, so they will be ready for the schools next week. And that's something that I think all of the families of the students should be proud of. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are we clapping? You know, when one person starts clapping, you're like, oh, okay, right on. I'll clap to that. Thank you, Principal Pears, Dr. Juan, appreciate it. And
Thanks for
then-
having us.
Okay, we'll see you. Good luck.
Bye.
Yes,
There you go. FD starts back face to face on Tuesday with the same day I believe as GDOE, the 19th, and they're on a staggered schedule, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Well, all I'm going to say is there's a lot of people with last names A to G.
I know. What or A, B, C, H to Z.
H to Z is not really
A lot-
that many, right?
Really? You don't think that?
Well, 'cause he
S's,
said-
Hey, as
the
somebody who-
S's?
Hey, now, as
Yes.
someone who has a name that begins with S, I can tell you, that's a lot of people.
I don't want to hate on you guys, but
Sablan, Salas,
Yeah.
Santos, Sarmiento.
as someone whose
Exactly.
name begins with a B, I'm just going to say that you're outnumbered.
But also the S's, the T's, the
Q's.
Hughes,
there,
right? Yeah.
Kineni,
Quintanilla.
Quintanilla, Kinata.
Kifunis.
Yeah. Well, actually, to
Kitsutsu.
your point, the A's are a lot too.
The Woostics. I don't know how many Woostics there are at FD, though.
Well, to your point, the first batch, the A to G, you've got Agigi,
All good.
Akininook,
Yep.
Italic.
Italic.
Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What else?
Ada.
Ada.
Blas.
Ada, yeah,
Mhm.
Cruz,
Yep.
Camacho.
Duenas.
Camacho. Oh, Camacho.
Right.
That's Camacho alone.
Flores.
Yeah.
E. Ed Kalani.
Ed Kulani. Inside joke, guys. Inside joke.
Well, our next guest is definitely in the F group.
F.